Welcome to Pattern Drafting class. This is Annette Julie, and today we are working on developing princess seams for our jacket draft. So we did that for the front in the last video. We've got princess seams, and we're going to do the same thing for the back. So here's the copy of the back, and you can use a very similar style line that you had in the front by taking the front and lining it up here and copying that line and blending that line right into that dart that's closest to the center back. So we're going to get rid of one dart, and we can take a little bit off of here and a little bit off of there. You can also take a little bit off of the center back too. So let's go ahead and use a very similar style line that we had in the front with the back. Line up your shoulders and your armhole. Also line up how the dart's going to blend into that princess seam. So spend a moment lining that up. And let's go ahead and trace that style line from the front onto the back. And we're going to blend a little bit at that tip over there, moving that tip from the dart over into the princess seam. Okay. Now I'm going to go down about 2 inches on this princess seam here in the back, and I'm going to make a set of double notches perpendicular to the line, 1/2 inch apart. Mark them with the circle. I'm going to draw the middle of the dart, which is now forming into a princess seam, all the way down. I'm going to come up from the bottom 4 and 4.5 inches, make those double notches, and circle those two for the back. So we can see now where we're going to have our center back princess seam and our side back princess seam. But we need to deal with some of this ease that we haven't dealt with. So in the front, we went in 1/4 inch at the waist. And we blended up to 0 at the armhole. And then we blended into the hem again. Into the hip again, excuse me. And we took care of 1/4 inch. We also brought the dart out 1/8 inch on both sides. This is what we did in the front. So we're going to do the same thing in the back. And this is our princess seam, but we're still treating it like our dart, making our corrections. So that takes care of 1/4 and another 1/4. But this dart over here, this is 1 inch wide. So we minus 1/4, we minus another 1/4. We can come to the center back and make a seam. And bring this in 1/2 inch. These are all suggestions of how you can alter your fit and how you can move ease and darts and princess seams around. So now I've brought that in 1/2 inch. Here I went out 1/8. Here I went out that 1/8. And so now we've dealt with this whole dart. So to continue with this princess seam, now we want to come back and soften everything. We don't want any points at the waist. And also too, because this is the back, we can actually curve the lower portion of this princess seam, give it a nice big curve. I went from 6 down to about 13.5 there. And so I'm changing the fit at the waist by bringing that out here, but I'm filling this back in and giving it a little bit more of a curve. Now we can go ahead and cut and separate our princess seams in the back. And you can see the curvy line and design that we came up with. Cut out a bit of the armhole so I can get to the princess seam. And over on this side, cutting out on the outermost line from the waist up, and then from the waist down, we're coming in on that curvy line to give us a more curvy fit over the hip and the buttocks. This is your choice. We cut out this dart, and now we have formed our princess seams that go together with double notches and double notches. Brought that in on the center back. So at this point, we would add our seam allowance all over, 2 or so inches for the hem, 1/2 inch everywhere else, except the neckline would be 1/4. Let's go ahead and label these pattern pieces. Draw that grain line from the middle of the hem going up. So it's about 3 inches here, right in the middle. And this is going to be my side, back, jacket, princess seams. This would be a cut to self fabric. And you can always have your name and the date. That needs seam allowance. Looks like a little teeny point right there. I could soften that. Cut off that little teeny bit. Let's add a grain line for our back. And arrows going both directions. And this is our center back jacket princess seams, and this is going to be a cut to self fabric, your name, the date, and then we'd add the seam allowance all over here. And we've completed our back princess seams for our jacket fit. This is Annette Julie, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.